What's up, amigos? It's the Prodigy Maker Minute with yours truly, Chris Lewitt. As you may know, I'm the former #1 for Cornell University, pro circuit player, elite junior development coach, and author and educator, author of The Secrets of Spanish Tennis and the Tennis Technique Bible. So I've had the privilege of starting to work and coach with my youngest child. Her name is Ocean, and she's 3 years old. And we've had a few lessons, but we had our first serious, quote unquote, serious lesson this past weekend. And so I exposed all my kids to tennis, and my other 3 kids, they chose other sports to focus on. But I introduced them all to tennis, and I did my best to keep them around the academy and on the court as much as possible. So I was a little disappointed that none of my kids gravitated and fell in love with tennis, or gravitated to and fell in love with tennis. But my youngest daughter, Ocean, is showing an interest. She's what I joke with my wife, I call her the last Jedi. She's my last little girl, my last child. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, maybe I will get one of my kids to fall in love with tennis, and then I can share the sport with them in a more extensive way. That would be a great joy for me. But I got on the court with her, and I realized it's really hard to coach 3-year-olds. And I usually, I'm joking, but I usually start the youngest kids that I coach. I work with a lot of prodigies and young talented athletes, but usually as young as 5, 5 or 6 is when I typically start with that's as young as I tend to go. So working with a 2 or 3-year-old or 4-year-old is very different because it's harder to instruct them. It's I like to do serious coaching. I like to work on technique, and you can't really do that with a 3-year-old. So I'm working with my daughter, and I'm realizing, man, this is very, very difficult to try to get some type of technical instruction going with the 3-year-old who's just getting into preschool. I realized that before preschool, it's almost impossible because my daughter this year has been in preschool, and she's learning how to take instructions from a teacher. She's learning how to follow directions. She's learning about the role between teacher and student, and how teachers give directions and students follow them, and teachers share knowledge with their students. So she's learning all that just this year. So I feel like now is the time to start instructing her. But everything has to be very rudimentary. And one thing that I realized was that the traditional coaching methodology, keep it really simple, racket low, follow through high, follow through up around the shoulder, things that I don't like to teach to older kids because I think they're kind of outdated. Just kind of meet the ball out in front. Those kind of things those traditional strategies to teach technique are useful at this age, 2, 3, 4. And then I imagine when Ocean's a bit older, we can kind of document her journey if she takes to the game. We'll see. But as she hits 5 or 6 and she can take more detailed instruction, I can teach her more modern technique. But at this stage, I didn't know what else to tell her. But I went back to my old USPTA or PTR certification exams where you just turn sideways, racket low, meet the ball out in front, follow through high, down up. I got her swinging low to high, and I spent about 15 minutes trying to get her to hold the racket with 2 hands. So this is the kind of level of technical instruction that I was dealing with. I got her to hold the racket with 2 hands. Interestingly, I think with young kids, it's really good to teach them ambidextrously. You're not always sure which side they're going to be dominant on. And using 2 hands on both sides is a great way to go. It's the way Rafa learned, a lot of kids learn. So I have this idea that gripping the racket with 2 hands, maybe with 2 backhands, switching the grips up. So you have the dominant hand on top, non-dominant hand on top for each side. Is a great way to start, like a 2, 3, 4. I haven't thought much about how to teach 2, 3, and 4-year-olds, but I think that's a great way to start, double-handed, and then kind of wait to see where she's at in terms of her dominance, in terms of her laterality. And another thing is I really don't like the way a lot of introductory classes are taught to children, because a lot of them are kind of like gym skills where the kids actually don't touch the racket until the last 10 minutes. A lot of throwing the ball back and forth, a lot of basically any kind of athletic skills that are being done without the racket, I don't like. So I want to get the young kid holding the racket, manipulating the racket, swinging the racket, gripping the, I want everything as much as possible to be with the racket. So I feel like if you have 30 minutes, you're not going to get a long attention span with a young 2, 3, or 4-year-old. Try to get the racket in the hand or in the hands. Get the kids swinging. I think that develops, the neuromuscular connections. Gets the kid a little bit stronger. Get the kid using the racket, manipulating the racket. I don't like a lot of young introductory classes, even for 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds. Some like red ball classes where the kids spend a lot of time just throwing and catching, doing kind of dinky gym class things that they should get in school. Maybe they didn't get in school, but they got to get somewhere else. Tennis class should be about using the racket, manipulating the racket. I'll share some more thoughts in some following Prodigy Maker minutes, but I just thought it was cool. I got on the court with my 3-year-old, and I was like, man, this is really hard, and you have to really adjust your teaching style and make it really, really basic. I'm going back to old school technique, and of course, you got to try to make it fun for kids, of course. All right, guys, if you appreciate this Prodigy Maker Minute, please check out my big show, The Prodigy Maker Show. It's our podcast and longer version show where we go deeper, drill down deeper into more topics about junior development, Spanish tennis, things like that. And please consider subscribing. Our channel is growing slowly and steadily, and we have a great, passionate audience. And I appreciate you guys. If you like the content, please consider subscribing and joining our community. Thanks, guys. See you on the next program.